of stress on my power. Endeavor! Are you keeping up? Does it look like I'm having any trouble? Worry about your own responsibilities, you fool! If you're gonna go after them, now's the time! Right. I'll leave you to it. NANI?
You had my curiosity, but now you have my attention.
All right, Horikoshi, you had my curiosity with this pro-hero arc, but with this chapter, you now have my attention. This was honestly not the way I thought this fight was going to go down between Endeavor and this newly evolved Nomu High End. I honestly thought, being the first fight for Endeavor as the brand new #1 pro hero, he would either win or come to a draw in this fight. But that is not at all what we are getting, and Horikoshi is showing us that he is not pulling punches when it comes to Endeavor's character during this fight with High End, because we see Endeavor get carled. He might have lost his eye during this fight, and by the ending of this chapter, he is unconscious, on his back, on the ground, amongst the rubble, with High End just looking for someone else to fight. Where are we going with this, Horikoshi? I am very intrigued right now on where this is going to go. I know that this arc was teased as a turning point for My Hero Academia, and just judging by these events, this most certainly can be the case. So with all that being said, guys, let's dive in and talk about chapter 188 for My Hero Academia, which was entitled, My Father is the #1 Hero. And right off the bat, I think I should bring this up because I think everyone noticed after reading this chapter is that we got a shorter chapter this week. It was only about 13 pages long, and I don't really know the main reason as to why this chapter was as short as it was, but I have noticed these past couple of weeks with MHA chapters, some tend to be shorter than others. I just don't know the main reason as to why the page counts tend to vary from week to week to week. I'm kind of hoping that this has nothing to do with Horikoshi's health. Maybe it's because he's busy with the anime movie about to come out, with the current season airing, and also doing chapters week after week after week. But if any of you guys actually know the real reason as to why this week's chapter was only 13 pages, please let me know down in the comments below. But let's move to the very beginning of this chapter, because this chapter picks up where the last chapter left off, where we see Endeavor launching from his fingertips these fire beams to cut up that huge chunk of the building that was about to fall down into the streets down below. And he cuts it up into more manageable, smaller debris to lessen the impact that it would have had on the citizens down in the streets below. But this is still going to cause a lot of property damage because we just see rocks and debris flying everywhere. And we even see that Hawks is having a hard time flying in this type of environment, dodging all of the falling debris, as we see him crash down on one of the rooftops of the buildings. And Hawks proceeds to tell Endeavor, you should have made all this debris smaller and more manageable because it's hard for me to fly in this environment after I sent out all of those feathers to protect those civilians and get them out of this situation, because the less feathers I have, the smaller my wings are, and thus I cannot fly as well. And I am really glad that this got brought up at the beginning of this chapter, because this is something I noticed, and I pointed it out in my last chapter review, that the more feathers that Hawks sent out, his wings looked smaller compared to how they actually look. So I'm glad that this actually shows that there is a limitation on Hawks' quirk to where if he uses more feathers, it actually hinders his ability to fly. So after dealing with the falling debris, we actually see some pro heroes from street level coming in to assist Endeavor and Hawks within this situation to fight back against High End. And we can see that this Nomu is getting more annoyed with the fact that other pro heroes are entering this fight, because all High End wants to do is fight Endeavor one-on-one. It just wants to fight the strongest person within its vicinity, and currently right now, that is Endeavor. So in order to distract all these other pro heroes, that way High End could have Endeavor all to itself, it begins to unleash more of its power and show off more of its quirks, because up until this point, it has demonstrated 5 of its known quirks, and who knows how many more quirks High End actually has. But these 5 quirks that it has shown thus far are shoulder jet mechanisms, shape-shifting arms, muscle enhancements, power, and regeneration. Just with these quirks alone, High End has been able to outmatch Endeavor in both speed and power this entire fight, and after unleashing this 6th quirk, it turns this situation from bad to worse because it begins to pop off of its body. These smaller white-skinned Nomus, they begin to plummet down to the ground where they can attack the civilians and distract the other pro heroes. And I have a lot of questions on this Cell Division quirk and these other Nomus because are these in fact people turned into Nomus, and then were these Nomus infused into the body of High End, or is this some type of cloning quirk? I want to learn more about that because if these are in fact real people turned into Nomus and then implemented into High End, that is crazy and messed up. But it was a smart move on High End's part because it is distracting all the other pro heroes, including Hawks, to protect the civilians, and now High End has Endeavor all to itself. And Endeavor's beginning to realize this Nomu is different than the others, not only in power alone, but in sentience, because the fact that this has brains and brawn and it can actually analyze the situation and make the fight go into its favor, this is different than all the other Nomus that Endeavor has fought over the course of this series. But what makes this situation that much worse is that this Nomu has figured out the weakness to Endeavor's power. We have seen time and time again throughout this series that whenever a quirk is introduced and it seems too powerful or too OP, it always comes with its set limitations and weaknesses that the user cannot really overcome. And we get to see Endeavor's weakness within this chapter to where if he uses his flame quirk in power too much and he raises his body temperature beyond its natural limit, he will begin to weaken his body's physical functions. This is a limitation that Endeavor will never truly overcome. He can build a tolerance to it, but that weakness will never go away. And even though this weakness is just being stated within this chapter, we've gotten hints to this over the course of the series just by looking at Todoroki Shoto, his son, his masterpiece, to where that limitation and weakness has been eliminated entirely, and you kind of understand why Endeavor married Rei Todoroki in the first place with an ice quirk, because by creating the perfect child, the perfect specimen, the perfect version of himself, he eliminated that weakness entirely within Todoroki Shoto to where he can regulate his body temperature by having half fire and half ice. I'm not saying this makes up for what Endeavor did to his entire family, but now I am starting to dive more into the mindset of Endeavor as to why he did what he did. It makes sense for the power-hungry Endeavor, but it doesn't make up for the fucked up shit he did to his entire family. But I just love the fact that Horikoshi is diving into this stuff with Endeavor and the Todoroki family within this arc. It is just so good. We see Endeavor launch this devastating attack towards High End called Prominence Burn, and we just see this gigantic beam of fire and light incinerating everything in its path. And as he begins to barbecue High End with this attack, he's thinking back to what he said as the new #1 pro hero, saying, "Just watch me," and how he's not going to disgrace himself within this situation, how he's not going to fall. Everything that transpired after this definitely surprised me, and all I can say is, Horikoshi, you have my attention, because this is supposed to be a turning point within the series. This is what has been stated with the pro hero arc, and for the past couple of reviews, I have been making comparisons with Hawks towards Icarus and how we might see his fall from grace. I don't think that is the case anymore. We might actually witness the fall from grace with Endeavor's character if things do not go his way in the next chapter, because after Endeavor is done launching this attack and he feels the recoil of going past his limits, we see the severed head and neck of High End falling down and the body begins to regenerate, and then we just see High End launch this fatal attack towards Endeavor and he ends up hitting him in the face. All we get to see is blood spurting out from where Endeavor's left eye should be, and he just plummets down right back to the ground amongst the rubble, and we just see High End standing there right above him, looking around for another stronger opponent to fight. Society just got to witness their newly anointed #1 pro hero lose in this situation. This was broadcasted for everyone live to see, and they got to see their #1 hero lose. This does not bode well for building back the relationship between society and the pro heroes, because they already suffered a major blow with the loss and sudden retirement of All Might, But now getting to witness the loss of Endeavor, the new #1 pro hero, it's a long road ahead of us just to see the building back of that relationship and trust between society and the pro heroes. But Endeavor's family is watching this unfold, and they are shocked and surprised to see this because we see Fuyumi and Natsu in the backseat of a car watching this on a laptop and shocked at what they are witnessing. Rei Todoroki, the wife, has no idea what is even going on because she can't watch TV in the hospital. She is just sitting there with the flower on the windowsill as she is just reading the letters that Shoto sended her. And then we make our way to UA, where Todoroki is standing there in front of the TV watching this unfold, and all the other students with Midoriya, Momo, Kirishima, Denki, and Tokoyami, they don't know what to say to him in this situation. Even our teachers are shocked by this. We see Aizawa telling 13 to take care of Eri, take her back to the room. He's going to check on Shoto, and it's All Might here that I feel bad for the most because he is looking on at this situation, gripping his injury. And he's like, I cannot help out in this situation. I feel so helpless. He feels so bad for Endeavor right now. But it's that last shot of the Nomu, high end, standing there, just with a collapsed and defeated Endeavor, looking for a stronger opponent to fight. I am so excited for next chapter, guys. I want next week's chapter here today, right now. I am very curious to see what is going to be the fallout if, in fact, Endeavor loses in this situation. Because the main thing I'm asking right now, Endeavor may be down, but is he out just yet? Could he possibly get back up and go in for round 2 against High End? And could we possibly have other pro heroes join in to fight back against High End? Or will High End just get away from this situation and go back to whatever layer he crawled out of with the Doctor or Dabi, as some people have been speculating? But right now, I am very curious to see the reactions of every other character. Fuyumi, Natsu, when is Rei going to find out? What's Todoroki's reaction going to be to this? What is Shoto going to do with this? And how will he be feeling seeing his father being defeated in such a way? All Might's reaction, Aizawa's reaction, Midoriya, our main character. I am so excited to see where we are going to go moving forward. And Horikoshi, you went dark for the ending of this chapter, but I am very glad that you did. So with that, guys, that is my review on chapter 188 from My Hero Academia, and I definitely want to hear your guys' thoughts on this latest chapter. What are you guys feeling right now? What was your reaction to seeing the defeat of Endeavor and the injury that he got from High End? What are your positives? What are your negatives? And what do you think we're going to be getting in chapter 189 of My Hero Academia? I'm very curious to hear your guys' thoughts. Leave those down in the comments below. But if you guys want to talk more about this chapter or just My Hero Academia in general, feel free to follow me on Twitter, guys. A link to my Twitter account can be found in the description down below. But that's going to do it for me here, guys. So until next week, when we have chapter 189 of My Hero Academia, I'll talk to you guys next time. But remember, guys, do this for Endeavor. Go beyond, plus ultra.